Thumbs up. All right, if you don't agree, please exit now. So today we are going to be talking about nutrigenomics, which is a crazy and very interesting topic. It is something that, as I said in the video email that I sent out to everybody, it's something that I became familiar with back in, I'm going to say 2012, when I was running a huge clinical trial for Weight Watchers of all companies, but it was a specific clinical trial for type 2 diabetes. And we did collect DNA samples with the intent to look at this very topic, because there are many theories about weight loss and gene therapy and genes in general, and what is even the best diet for you and what is the best exercise for you. And so it was really compelling evidence that this company we were working with. So they were out in San Diego. So I was fortunate enough to meet Kim. Kim gave a little hey, and through Blaine and his Facebook tribe, as I had mentioned as well. Blaine is a really interesting person, which is why I asked if he was going to join, because I wanted to give him a shout out. Blaine is a TBI survivor many times over, and Kim is a cancer survivor, and she is Blaine's caregiver. So she has a really incredible perspective of the whole TBI world. And as I also said in the email, that Gloria comes from Vanderbilt University. She has her PhD in psychology, correct?
Yes.
And she has been studying, you know, psychology and therapies and all the other ways to help people through different efforts and modalities, and then came upon nutrigenomics, and so decided to kind of leave the academic world and pursue this more in a private practice. So I'm going to let the ladies introduce to us all how they met to everybody and give a little blurb, and then we'll kick off their presentation.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynn. So shall I start?
Yes.
Okay.
You've got a great story.
Well, I'm Kim Berkheimer, and my history is having to do with, as Lynn said, blood disorder that I had. I was on oral chemo for about 11 years, and sort of met Blaine accidentally. It's been an accidental relationship. And he had a lot of problems with his head injury. He'd had his first head injury at the age of 4, and had really not had any treatment other than pharmaceuticals until he met my husband and I. And by, various different means, I ended up deciding to research what might be out there that would be beneficial, that was non-pharmaceutical and non-invasive. And as a result of that, so just to cut it really short here, as a result of that, I found a couple of very interesting things, and that sort of, Gloria's been a friend of mine forever, and I didn't know that she was involved in this. And so it's kind of accidentally, she ended up saving my life and Blaine's life. And it's been a very interesting journey with the two of us together, wouldn't you say, Gloria?
Oh, yes, very interesting. And Kim has mastered a number of modalities that she works with brain trauma clients. And I think together we'd like to give you a message of hope.
Yeah.
This is a place where there is lots of research, lots of ability to make progress in not only in symptoms, but in functioning. And I taught at Vanderbilt Medical School for about almost 20 years. And one of the roles I was in there was I was a neuropsychologist. So anytime anybody came with a brain injury or cognitive decline, I would give them an extensive battery of tests. And then if there were retesting, I would go in and give that at a later date and see how much progress had been made. But one of the things that really disturbed me, and Kim and I are on the same page, and you probably are as well, is that the doctors who were dealing with an individual with brain trauma I think they did it in part because they want to be protective in some way. Sometimes doctors give us information that they think will calm our fears. And one of the things they would say is, you have this window to make significant improvement in your brain functioning. I see, Josie, you're nodding, and probably some others of you have heard this. Yeah, Sharon as well. And so I would kind of go behind the physicians and I would say, please do not feel that you are limited to a time frame.
No.
I have worked with thousands of people over time, and there is so much room for progress in every way. And so,
and that's actually absolutely been my experience. I mean, Blaine was really the first person I worked with traumatic brain injury, but since then I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people. And Blaine turned out to be probably the person I learned the most from, because his original head injury was at 4, and I didn't get to know him until he was 50 years old, and he'd never had any real treatment that benefited him. And so it's been a real journey of discovery to find that, yes, indeed, major progress can be made with the right natural therapies. And that's what we do, is we're interested in using non-invasive, non-pharmaceutical type things, so that we're not accidentally, causing more problems along the way. And so, go ahead.
So this is such an exciting time. And I know that some of you may be caregivers or have a family member who suffers from TBI. Some of you have had TBI yourself. So Kim, who was a caregiver for Blaine, who had this blood disorder and was on chemotherapy, she was totally taxed. And she was the CEO of a closely held family company. And her brain disorder, her brain condition.
Yeah, I had chemo fog. I did not know that was what it was, but I had chemo fog. And as a result of that, I was not able to function really on a day-to-day basis. And as a result of that, I decided to sell the business, because I felt like I was doing a disservice to the people who were relying on me. And at that point, I started opening my mind and learning about new things. And it was totally accidental. I kind of Googled, what's out there that's non-pharmaceutical, non-invasive, that might help with traumatic brain injury. And that's how I found out about neurofeedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Kim's just a wealth of knowledge, and I love watching Blaine's journey, and the world has opened up for Blaine, and he is doing such a service for his Facebook groups. How many?
He's got approaching 15 Facebook groups. The biggest one is the Traumatic Brain Injury Healthy Alternatives Facebook group, where Lynn and I met, and he's got about 15,000 people on that group. And he's on there every day, a couple times a day. And yesterday he was out pruning the tree in the yard. I mean, this is a man who's now 62 years old and has suffered from so many head injuries in his life that we can't count them all, because we later learned that he'd had bradycardia, which is a heart defect that causes your heart to stop. So he was falling all the time, and falling hard,
And he's painting. He's a beautiful artist. So I think going from where he was when you two first met to a man who is helping with healing and hope and information, and has created these beautiful resources. So Lynn spoke about the area that we are going to discuss, and we're not going to go into deep, excruciating detail. Nobody really wants a biochemistry or a science lesson right now, but we do want to introduce a couple of terms to you. And the first one is biohacking. And can you see our screen there? Thumbs up if you can. Yes. Okay, good. So Kim, what's biohacking?
So biohacking is taking control of a complex system, in this case, our own biology, in order to achieve a desired outcome. Basically, what we're looking for are ways that we can actually affect change in our body in as natural a way as possible.
And we're not looking for symptom relief necessarily, or just a small, we're looking at changing in positive ways the entire system. So you may hear people talking about biohacking. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Okay.
And
go.
then the specific field that we are fascinated by, and this is another huge message of hope. I don't know how many of you out there are living in some sort of fear or apprehension that you are going to get what your ancestors had. Nobody really wants to, you know, these are usually not good things. And so this new emerging field of nutrigenomics says it is not your genetic makeup that determines the quality of your life. It's your genetic expression. About 96% of our genes are up for grabs. You can affect them in positive ways. And guess what? When you affect the genes in positive ways, your functioning improves overall, you feel better, have more access to things. So we are working with plant-based medicine that has been studied by top-tier universities to turn on the positive genes, turn off the ones that are maladaptive. Now that may sound kind of space age and whatever, but it's all very healthy and predictable and positive.
Yeah, so you're not your parents' genetic makeup anymore, right?
Right.
You actually have control and ability to change the potential for yourself. It may be that maybe your parents had Alzheimer's, or it may be you've heard a doctor say that people with TBI are more likely to have Parkinson's type symptoms. Okay, so and what we're finding out is that is not necessarily true.
So that's another big yay.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Joe Mccord, and he is someone who has added a tremendous amount to this field of research. He is internationally known as the father of free radical biology because he learned about cell signaling and how we can, through simple combinations of nutrients, we can affect our genetic expression. So for his research, he won something called the Elliott Crescent Medal. This is so important. It was given in 1848, way back. All of us have heard probably of Pierre and Marie Curie at one point. They were the initial recipients. And then there were people like Alexander Graham Bell and Henry Ford and the Wright brothers. And the last recipient of this is this man, Dr. Joe Mccord. We're not going to bore you with history, but it is significant that he's the formulator of this plant-based technology. And you're wondering now, are we just Kim and Gloria up here in northern Idaho talking about something that we find interesting? No, we're just flashing this slide up here because just for a moment, so you can see places like Harvard and Washington State and Northwestern and the American Heart Association. All of these universities and agencies are spending their own research, precious research dollars, precious research time to study what we're talking about. It hasn't gotten fully into the hands of your physicians or the specialists you deal with, but this is the wave of the future.
So I think one of the things I want to say, I'm not sure what our next slide is here, but one of the things I've learned is that things in our body get dysregulated, right? So you can get dysregulated by trauma. They can be dysregulated because of ancient history. We now know that some people actually carry the impact of the Holocaust in their genes several generations deep, okay? And so what nutrigenomics is teaching us is that that effect does not have to last forever. That effect can actually be reversed at the gene level. So how many genes do we have, Gloria, on average?
About 25,000.
About 25,000 genes in our body. And we've discovered that each of those, they kind of express different things, right? Different critical things that our body needs to be able to perform at a peak level and to survive. And that those things can get messed up.
Yeah, Kim used a beautiful word, dysregulated. I say to myself, your cells get gummed up.
Yeah, there
You
you
know,
go.
think about all the things, not only brain injury, but the effects of stress, of the environmental toxins we're coming across. The fact that, you know, it's hard to get the best nutrients into our body that are so essential. So think about your cells when you're born. You have a powerful pathway called the pathway of survival genes. And that works to keep us healthy in most cases until we're in our 20s or 30s. And that's when things start getting gummed up and you start seeing people manifest diseases.
Yeah, and that's on a normal day, right?
Right.
That doesn't include the day when you have a car accident or whatever happens to happen to you and things go sideways on you.
Yes.
Right. And, I found two technologies. Neurofeedback actually deals with the dysregulation of brain frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And this Nutrigenomics deals with the dysregulation at the cellular level that happens through wonky gene expression, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With our genes that are kind of gummed up and aren't working the way optimally.
Yeah.
Our cells, that is, I'm sorry. And, one of the things that you hear all the time are the words inflammation, right? People are always saying inflammation, that brain trauma creates inflammation. Right. And what happens is that this inflammation, you have can you talk about the initial injury and then what happens when the brain's trying to heal?
Yeah. So just on a normal day, we have a little bit of inflammation in our body because that's how the biology works. But when you have a brain injury and you have that sudden impact, there's an explosion of inflammation, and that's basically cellular damage. And when you have cellular damage, part of it's cellular damage, part of it is the body reacting to start to heal itself. And so there's this big effect that happens, but over time, that inflammation can build on itself if you can't get to it and somehow calm it down. And oftentimes this is not an aspect that's discussed with us from our doctors, right? We don't hear about what can I do to reduce the inflammation that was caused, first of all, by the accident, second of all, by the cascade that continues.
Your body's just flooding itself with oxygen, your brain, in an attempt to heal it, but it has no way to process it. And so some of you may have experienced that secondary course.
So think about maybe the tension you feel in your head, mm-hmm. or the pressure you feel in your head, or maybe the fact that you're having memory problems,
or migraines,
or sleep. Sometimes the sense of smell is dysregulated. Sometimes the sense of taste is dysregulated. Sometimes the vision is dysregulated. All those things can happen as a sort of a ongoing effect of the initial brain injury. So the goal here is to
reduce inflammation and reduce the oxidative stress, which is the byproduct of this brain trying to heal itself. Yeah. I love the way our bodies and systems work. And this is all a very exciting new technology to deal with that.
Right. And, this product here on the screen, this company that we were fortunate enough to come into contact with, has made a huge difference in both our lives and in the lives of many, many people that we know, including Blaine. I mean, Blaine is able to do what he does because we were able to calm that dysregulation and calm that storm that happens in the brain as a result of trauma, and then continues to happen over time. And if you happen to have spatial awareness problems and have more trauma, or you happen to have a heart defect and have more trauma, it just keeps building on itself. So
that's the good news.
That's
everybody.
The good news. Yeah.
I don't know whether you followed that premise, that great summary that Kim gave, but the exciting news is that there are plant technologies that affect you at the genetic level, that work on it's an anti-inflammatory pathway that we have in our body that gets turned off when it gets.
So I want to ask a question here, ladies, just to clarify, which I think should help everybody who's listening in. we are all very familiar with vitamins, the word supplements. We're familiar with nutraceuticals now, and nutrigenomics is very different. And this is what I think maybe we still need a little clarification on, because it actually kind of, as I think Lori said earlier, it wakes up a part of the gene. So in the research that we did with Weight Watchers, there's a very end of everybody's gene. I think it's called a telomere, if I recall my chemistry correctly. And that telomere actually decreases as we age normally. And what we did see, and that's why I thought this is an intriguing topic to just educate everybody about, is nutrigenomics is about taking that little teeny telomere and stopping it from decreasing and increasing it if you have the right combinations. And I think the other thing too, which we saw in our research, was making sure that the right formulations are matched to the right people, right? And so maybe you can speak a little bit to that. And if anybody has any questions, please pop them in the chat like we always do.
Yes, well, thank you so much for clarifying that, and thank you for all of you for listening.
Great question.
It's a great question, and that was a great thing. So we are used to trying to supplement our bodies to heal or to make some aspect of our cells flourish. Well, what we have is the first activator. This activates a genetic pathway that controls inflammation. It controls free radical damage, fibrosis. Some of you have fibrosis. We all have fibrosis created by
That's scar
things.
tissue, right, Gloria?
Yeah. So, and just not to go any more into the research or science, this is the conclusion, which is really exciting. These are independent researchers, which are very close to where we live, Washington State University. They have reviewed all of the research behind this prominent pathway, and they say this is potentially the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. But we want to validate that this is not just Kim and Gloria who find this fascinating and who've gotten so much benefit. Right. So
supplementation means, if you think about root words and things, it means to add something.
Yes.
Right? To add something. So this is the difference between adding something and inducing your body to make it for us, right? So now we're just actually flipping a switch in our body and turning on the expression of a stream of enzymes whose job it is to clear out oxidative stress, which is the root cause of chronic inflammation, which is the root cause of aging and disease. And
it's a factor in every brain trauma.
Exactly.
And in everyone's brain, but enhanced by the brain healing process, the traumatic injury.
Right. And we've been talking about this pathway. So we're actually flipping the switch on that pathway.
Yes. So, okay, now then, we have been taught, we try our best, I know we all do, I don't do the greatest, but we're taught that nutrition is healing, and it is healing, but it is a supplement. It is feeding your body. So one molecule of the best resourced kiwi fruit will combat one molecule of this inflammatory process or the oxidative stress, one and done. And if you realize that this is at the basis of fundamentally every disease, it's certainly tied with to brain trauma, that we need more powerful agents. So nutrition is critical, but this technology, again, to give you hope, it has a patent that says it combats up to 1 million molecules of oxidative stress per second for 24 hours. Nothing else has ever been proven to be as powerful.
And it does that by turning on our body's own production of enzymes.
Yes.
So it's really our own enzymes that are doing that. They're waking up to the levels of maybe what we had before our accident, for sure, and even as an infant. And when they wake up like that, they just flood our body and start clearing things out and making us feel better. We start to be able to think more clearly. The chemo fog goes away. Sleep can improve now because your head isn't pounding all the time with inflammation. So there's all kinds of things like that start to improve.
Well, and when you feel better, everyone takes better care of themselves. If I feel better, I'm going to go for a walk, or I can do something relaxing, like paint a picture if I were like Blaine. So
or prune a tree.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what we know is that it would take something, this is a simple example, but it would take the consumption of 357 oranges in one day to equal the power of your body being turned on. And I know most of us, no matter how good we are, can't tolerate 357 oranges. Yeah. Okay, so this is, I think we just are on our last slide, but this is, you all are on a wave. You all are being very proactive by coming to these seminars and learning about these things, because never in history have people been more proactive about their health. It's been a 60% increase in sales of wellness products in the last 8 years, because you all are researching things and you want to know about the best approaches. Yes.
And so many of us want something other than sort of classically Western medicine, because so far, it may not have worked very well for us. So
this is sort of the end of our prepared presentation. And so why don't we stop sharing and just open this up for questions.
Let's see.
Right up at the top there.
So people, you can either type in the chat or unmute yourselves and ask away. We've got a few more minutes.
I have a question. If this is 1,000,000 times stronger or 357 times stronger, whatever, what are the side effects and how does our body react to that kind of metabolism?
That's an excellent question, Sue. And interestingly, your body is happy. Your body, you experience all sorts of positive effects. There is the process that initially your body is cleansing at the cellular level. And so you all are familiar with cleansing. When you cleanse at the cellular level, then sometimes you feel mild symptoms.
Flu-like symptoms.
Yeah, just for a bit of time. And what we say is it's kind of rare that people actually do that. But when someone tells us that they're kind of having a detox, what do? We say, drink more water and slow down. Cut this in half, this little yellow activator.
Right.
And then that passes.
So I do have to add in, though, to be cautious. My daughter did take this and she did have terrible reactions because she has food allergies. So that is something that I think everybody has to be really careful about. While this is plant-based, she has allergies to mushrooms. And I'm a big proponent of mushrooms as well, but that's something to just really be careful of, and it is potent. So thank you for asking that question. That was a super good question. We have a question for mild TBIs and Crohn's. Would this help? And yes, the meeting is always recorded and put on the dashboard, which I will announce at the end. So this is for Crohn's.
Well, that is such an exciting question that you're asking, because one of the things that's so compelling about this approach to health and healing is it gets the foundation of most disease processes. So we have seen many people have very good response with Crohn's and so forth. If you have an accompanying disorder, this should be
Very beneficial.
very beneficial.
Yeah, it's basically globally beneficial to any breathing mammal.
Yeah, we have a
Okay.
patent that says this works in 100% of mammals. So if any of you have a dog that you love that's aging, this is huge.
So Nora is a certified natural health professional. She loves plant-based medicine. She's a big advocate. Is this available from the neurologist?
We do have some neurologists and other forms of physicians who are huge proponents of this technology, but this, guys, you're learning about something just at the crest of a wave. It is not, most of your neurologists do not know about this yet. Some will, some won't. And so we suggest that, and you may want to write this down if you want to talk to your doctor, which is always a good thing, that you first say, doctor, would it be a good idea for me to reduce my oxidative stress? And the doctor will say, well, of course, Sue, it's important for you to reduce your oxidative stress. But then you follow up and say, doctor, what do you think about nutrigenomics? And then they may look at you kind of, and so that just, rather than your doctor saying, no, don't take anything else, it will give you an idea. It will begin the discussion about this. And we have lots of information. We're always happy to talk to healthcare providers, and we're both available to any of you if you would like to follow up with personal questions or.
Hi, it's Josie. I was just wondering, is there any way we can find out more information about this product?
Yeah, so what I will do is, nope, that's okay. So what I'll do at the end of the webinar, after we post it onto the dashboard, I send an email out to everybody and I include the speakers' emails so you can contact them. And then if for some reason you lose it, you can email us again and say, hey, I have more questions. And so that's the easiest way to do it.
Nora, who's interested in practicing integrative practices in the healthcare field, knows that this is the wave of the integrative medicine person. It is all natural. It does have 7 US patents, 6 global patents, and it was once sold on the shelves of pharmacies and GNC and so forth. But it needs a voice because we spent quite a while just talking about it, and it needs a voice. And that's why we are proponents of nutrigenomics and this approach to health.
Yeah.
And I would echo that as well, everybody. I always talk about my children and their injuries and why I started this to share with everybody to help people get better. Myself, I did not know as the caregiver, caregivers always do, and Kim probably can attest to this, you do let your own health go. And on top of Natalie's really bad situation with her head trauma and stroke, our home was destroyed by 3 hurricanes in a row, 3 years in a row. And so I couldn't move her because it was so debilitating and upsetting to her. And there was a point we were living in just a shell of a home because FEMA had not come through. So that's not the point. The point is I ended up getting mold toxicity to the point where I had rashes all over my body. And I mean painful rashes, and my eyes had turned yellow. And I didn't even know that. I mean, I knew I had these rashes, but Natalie was the one who said, Mom, something's really wrong with you. Your eyes are really, really bad. And I had the blood work done and so on because I went to a naturopathic doctor because I had already gone to, no joke, 5 doctors, ERs included, and all I kept getting were steroid creams and steroid pills, and nothing was fixing it, right? It was just masking it for kind of what Diane and I were talking about. You get this mask for a very short period of time and then it doesn't work. And so add injury, insult to my injury, I too have a lot of food allergies. So I went to a doctor who did all the blood work, and I had to go through a year of detoxing. So all of this really speaks to me, but do it with a lot of knowledge, so you're going in the right direction. But I did have inflammation in my brain as well. And so I did get my panels retested just probably 3 months ago. And the doctor said, I cannot believe you are this healthy. And it was a combination of what I could and couldn't eat, because it would trigger a lot of the mold, because food has mold in it and yeast will trigger mold reactions. So that's why it is a delicate balance. But I'm a big proponent of this and doing what does help you and makes you feel better. So again, I can't thank you enough, ladies, for coming on. If there's any last few questions, and I normally let this go on forever, but I see you, Kelly. I actually have a phone call, but go ahead, Kelly. And then, like I said, this will be posted on the dashboard. One thing we didn't get to talk about was how Kim and Blaine were able to use the app and track his symptoms. And Kim, being a neurobiofeedback person, could even kind of say, hey, let's back off here or let's adjust here. So tracking your symptoms, even if you go into nutraceuticals and food therapy, and we actually did get a request to add food on our dashboard, which I thought was a really interesting and a good request. So we're in the midst of doing some refinements to release in early 2021 new panels and things like that. So keep the suggestions coming, keep your tracking coming. Callie, you have a question?
It's real quick, I promise. I've gone through like the DNA food testing where they came back and said you shouldn't eat this or you need more of that. Is this basically what we're talking about, or is it different?
No,
Okay.
this is different. This is a synergistic compound of 5 all-natural ingredients that have been used in Eastern medicine for thousands of years. And they're put together in such a way, they're just little microdoses of it, that they aren't chemically, biologically, or molecularly, similar to the original thing. So this is a product, a technology that plant-based that activates the pathway. You take 1 a day. It's not dose dependent upon your size.
And the vast majority of people respond very well to it.
Yeah.
Very well to it.
For a
Okay, great.
variety of
Thank you.
things. So thank you for your question, Kelly.
Yeah.
It's exciting what's going on with DNA. We're learning. And you guys are at the forefront here because you're looking for answers. And we're honored to have this opportunity to
Yes,
speak to you. Thank
very
you,
much
Lynn.
so.
And our emails will be on there. No, it is not prescription.
Yeah.
And that is because it's all natural.
Okay, I copied the dashboard link to my time, Peter, and you're welcome. Yeah. All right, so I think that's it, everybody. Of course, I always enjoy having you all as guests. I enjoy our guests coming here and spending the time with us. You will get the email with the replay of this. Look at the work, contact Gloria, and as well as Kim, their emails will be in the body of the email as well too. And we don't have our, go ahead.
Just for those people who might like to know it, Blaine's group, the TBI Healthy Alternatives group, I'm admin on there, so people can find me through that group as well and message me via Facebook if they would like. I'm open to that as well.
Okay, great.
All right. And with that, everybody, thank you again. And you will get the email by tomorrow. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Great work.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.